Bose stirs the pot and Kyle confides in Kathy in RHOBH preview. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 14 has been on fire. However, RHOBH fans haven't seen anything yet, as the fallout of Kyle Richards' text messages to Paul P.K. Kemsley ripped the group apart. The latest preview video for the Bravo show teases Bozoma St. John's Serenity Soiree event will be anything but healing. Dorit Kemsley is already not interested in having a mediation day with these women before she gets some news from Bose. Before the event, Bose decides it would be the perfect time to talk to Dorit about Kyle and PK's texts. Nothing says calm like getting Dorit even more angry at Kyle than she already is, that's for sure. Bose stirs the pot on RHOBH via FaceTime. Dorit's not surprised to learn about the text because Erica Jane filled her on it. However, Erica had quite a different take on things than Bose, which gets Dorit riled up. Bose feels there's more to the text story than she initially thought. Adding more fuel to the fire is Bose's irritation that Kyle only read the text to certain people. It doesn't sit right with Bose that Kyle read the text to everyone but Dorit and her. This, of course, has Dorit fuming and screaming into the phone. Why am I the last to know? Oh yeah, this day of healing will go really well once Dorit sees Kyle and the rest of the gang. Kyle reaches out to Kathy for support. Over at Kyle's house, she FaceTimes with her sister, Kathy Hilton, to do a little venting of her own. Kyle immediately mentions her fight with Dorit and her texts with PK, which have become all the rage on RHOBH. Kathy encourages Kyle not to let the fight or Dorit ruin her day. Kyle plans to ignore Dorit, which we all know will go over well. Honestly, no one seems excited for this day of serenity, but at least they are faking it. Erica arrives at Bose with Kyle soon to follow, and it's smiles all around. Meanwhile, Garcelle, Sutton Strack, and Jennifer Tilly further prove that healing and serenity are the furthest things from their minds. In a van, they gossip about Kyle being armed and ready to take on Dorit again over the text drama. Thanks to the Next on preview, we know that Kyle walks out on the group, declaring she's done filming. As Monsters and Critics previously reported, Kyle quit the show briefly for the first time in her RHOBH career. Season 14 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has reached the halfway point as the drama reaches an all-time high, and we are here for it. The tension in Beverly Hills had been simmering like a kettle on the stove, and it was only a matter of time before someone cranked up the heat. That someone, it turned out, was Bose, a newcomer to the social circle who seemed to have an uncanny knack for spotting cracks in even the most picture-perfect veneers. The ladies of the 90,210 weren't sure what to make of him yet, but one thing was clear: he had an uncanny ability to stir the pot. It all began at Dorit's chick garden party, an affair draped in muted pastels and bathed in the golden glow of the California sun. The guest list was as exclusive as ever, with Kyle Richards arriving in a flowy white ensemble that practically screamed effortless elegance. She greeted Dorit with air kisses and a perfectly practiced laugh, but her eyes darted around the party, scanning for her sister Kathy. Their relationship had been strained lately, a mix of old wounds and new misunderstandings bubbling just beneath the surface. Bose made his entrance with a confidence that turned heads. Clad in a tailored blazer and clutching a small gift bag, a token for Dorit, he claimed, though some suspected it was more about making an impression. He wove his way through the crowd with practiced ease. The ladies, always curious about a fresh face, welcomed him with cautious smiles and probing questions. "So Bose," Dorit said, her accent giving the name an exotic lilt. "How are you finding Beverly Hills?" He smiled, his eyes glinting with mischief. "It's everything I expected and more. Though I have to say, it's fascinating how much people talk about each other here." The statement hung in the air like a challenge, and it didn't take long for Erica to bite. "Oh, honey," she drawled, "you're going to fit right in." Bose's smile widened. "I'll take that as a compliment." As the afternoon unfolded, Bose moved from one conversation to the next, dropping innocuous-sounding comments that landed like tiny grenades. He complimented Sutton's outfit, but mused aloud about how much she must spend on her stylist. He praised Garcelle's recent project, but casually mentioned hearing a rumor that someone wasn't thrilled with the direction it was taking. By the time he made his way to Kyle, she was already on edge. "Kyle," he began, his tone friendly but his words barbed, "I ran into someone the other day who had the most interesting take on your relationship with Kathy." Kyle's smile froze. "Oh, yes," he said, leaning in as if sharing a secret. "They seem to think there's more going on than what we've seen on the surface. Family dynamics can be so complicated, don't you think?" Kyle's heart sank. She'd been working so hard to keep her issues with Kathy private, but Bose's words struck a nerve. She excused herself quickly, needing a moment to regroup. As luck would have it, she found Kathy by the buffet, inspecting a platter of artfully arranged hors d'oeuvres. Kyle hesitated, torn between the urge to confront her sister and the desire to simply enjoy the party without drama. But Kathy, ever perceptive, noticed her hesitation. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Kathy said lightly, popping a bite-sized pastry into her mouth. Kyle forced a laugh. "Just a long day, that's all." Kathy's expression softened. "Come on, let's find a quiet spot. You look like you need to talk." The two sisters found a secluded corner of Dorrit's sprawling garden, away from the chatter and prying eyes. For a moment, they sat in silence, the tension between them almost palpable. "Kathy," Kyle began, her voice trembling slightly, "I don't even know where to start. I've been trying so hard to keep things together, but it feels like everything I do just makes things worse." Kathy reached out and placed a hand on Kyle's. "It's not all on you, Kyle. We both have our parts to play in this." Kyle's eyes filled with tears. "I just don't understand why it has to be so hard. We're family." "Because we're family," Kathy said simply. "That's what makes it so complicated. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses better than anyone. And sometimes we use that knowledge in ways we shouldn't." Kyle nodded, the weight of Kathy's words sinking in. For the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope. They weren't magically fixing their issues, but they were talking. That was a start. Meanwhile, back at the party, Bose's antics hadn't gone unnoticed. Dorrit pulled Erica aside, her tone hushed but urgent. "What do you make of him? He's charming, but he's also stirring things up." Erica smirked. "Oh, he's definitely stirring. The question is, who's next on his list?" The answer came sooner than expected. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the party began winding down, Bose made one final move, pulling Dorrit aside with a conspiratorial air. "Dorrit, I just have to say, you throw the most fabulous parties," he began, his tone effusive. "Why, thank you," Dorrit replied, her smile genuine. "Though I couldn't help but notice a certain tension between some of the guests. Have you noticed that too?" Dorrit's smile faltered for a split second before she recovered. "Oh, there's always a little drama at these things. It's part of the fun." Bose nodded, his expression thoughtful. "True. Still, it's interesting how much history can linger in a room like this. Sometimes it just takes the right nudge to bring it all to the surface." As he walked away, Dorrit couldn't shake the feeling that Bose's nudges were anything but accidental. She glanced around the garden, taking in the mingling guests, the laughter that masked underlying tensions, and the web of relationships that held them all together. Beverly Hills had always been a hotbed of drama, but with Bose in the mix, it seemed the stakes had just been raised. In their quiet corner, Kyle and Kathy's conversation wound down, the sisters sharing a tentative hug before rejoining the party. As they walked back, Kyle spotted Bose across the lawn, his eyes meeting hers for a brief, unsettling moment. She couldn't quite read his expression, but one thing was clear. He wasn't done stirring the pot just yet.